Hey everyone, it's Midnight Spectre, and today I'm going to be bringing you a collection of Reddit comments that I thought were rather funny about people fucking around and finding out. So I hope everyone remembers to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for next week's video. Decided at the tender age of 8 or 9 that I was immune to poison ivy, since I spent a large amounts of time outside and had never gotten a rash from it. Since I was a born scientist, I decided to test this by rubbing egregious amounts of the plant all over my upper body. Needless to say, I was not immune, in the slightest. You know, I don't know if I'm allergic to poison ivy. I've always tried to avoid as much as I can, although it can be especially hard if you're out in the woods or you have to pull something out of the brush somewhere. About 6 years old, having a picnic with my dad by the lake, some ducks wander up near to us. My dad says, "You know ducks will bite you." "That's silly, they don't have teeth." "Stick your finger out and find out for yourself." Got bit, cried. Ha, that reminds me of a time my grandfather did the exact same thing. I was probably close to the same age, and I didn't know the difference between ducks and Canadian geese yet. So I went over to the goose and tried to pet it because it wasn't really running away from us, and the goose bit my hand so hard that I started absolutely bawling. I don't think anything could have calmed me down after that. Eventually I had to leave the fishing spot because I was still crying. I was late for work and starving. The chicken I pulled from the fridge for a quick dinner smelled a little bit weird, but it was organic and I'd roasted myself, so it must be fine. So very fucking wrong. 18 hours of pure hell. I would have gone to the hospital, but literally couldn't get off my bathroom floor. Fainted twice, ended up with a black eye from hitting my head on the toilet. When in doubt, throw it out. Yeah, I've had way too many experiences with food that I've gotten sick from. If anything sits in the refrigerator for more than 3 days, I'm throwing it out. I used to get sick a lot as a kid because my grandparents were from the Great Depression era, so a lot of times they'd have cheese or bread or something like that would start to get moldy or weird, and they just cut off the bad parts and still serve it to me, none the wiser. Of course I got sick from it. I also remember another time when I was about 19 or 20 where I worked a job where I got out at midnight, and in our small town, food options were very limited at the time, so we'd eat at truck stops. Well, I didn't have enough money for the restaurant one night, but I had enough money to get something off the hot bar, and the lady said she just put them on or something, but I still bought the corn dogs anyway. Well, I got into my car and I started to eat, but somehow the corn dogs tasted how piss smelled, but Mama didn't raise a quitter and I also paid for them, so I ate them anyway. Smash cut to me about an hour later when I'm puking my guts out in front of my friend's house, filling a sleeping neighborhood with the sounds of me losing my dinner. When I was 18, I was vacationing in Mexico, and me and my family went to this horse riding attraction. Next to the horse handler sat this cute little weasel who happened to be missing one of his paws. I foolishly assumed he had to have been some sort of exotic pet that belonged to the handler, given how close he was, and I figured he wouldn't be able to survive his injuries. I reached out with the intention to pet his head and scratch his ear the way I do with my sister's pet ferret, and it chomped deep into my finger. I was lucky I didn't get any disease from it. The horse handler didn't know a lot of English, but from the look on his face, he probably thought I was one of the biggest pendejos he's ever seen. Gee, I almost did the exact same thing when I was working at a warehouse as security. I was at the guard shack, and it was a late summer or early fall evening when I was just sitting outside smoking a cigarette looking at the sunset thinking, man, what the fuck am I going to do with my life? When I looked down and saw a pair of ears and some furry thing next to my leg. Now, I was told that there was a stray cat that would come by every so often, and I figured that this was the cat. So I started to bend down to pet it, but it was actually a young raccoon that decided for whatever reason to chill next to me. So I freaked out and the raccoon freaked out, and we both ran our separate directions. I'd have loved to pet the raccoon because it did look rather fluffy, but at the same time I didn't want to get bit and have to go to the hospital for rabies shots. I wrote my own leasing contract to rent out my condo. After my renters arrived, someone from the HOA pointed out I didn't do a background check on two 80-year-old sisters, so the HOA banned me from renting out my condo for 2 years. I'm thankful for Reddit because without them I wouldn't have known that HOAs are the devil. When I was shopping for land, so many places had bought up empty tracts of land in Tennessee during the pandemic that I expected to have people flocking to them to build homes and stuff on them. But everyone got scared of a recession and real estate prices started to come down, so that a lot of these places are stuck in the red now and are trying to sell the land. However, these pieces of land come with all their silly HOA restrictions, and even a piece of land with no road leading up to it and you still have to clear the land itself, still has HOA restrictions on it. I never understood HOAs. Like, yeah, I get wanting to keep the neighborhood up and looking nice, but I mean, when people buy a house, they generally want to keep it up the best they can. And sure, there'll be some people who just don't care and tear up the house, but a really devious person could do the same thing in an HOA and just keep the outside up to HOA standards and just wreck the inside and leave. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed this week's video. I hope everyone remembers to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for next week's video. See you!